Hey there, ladies. Welcome back. We are officially at week 2, day 2, and today we are going to proceed with our knotless feed-in braids. We're in feed-in braids now. We are in feed-in braids. Yes, our feed-in braids demonstration, okay? So today we're going to be actually practicing our first feed-in braid. It's going to be a stitch braid that we're doing in the back of her head. So what we're going to start off first by doing is just sectioning our hairs down the middle so that we can get a half of each side of her head, and then from there we are going to section for our first feed-in braid. Now, feed-in braids for me has been something that I've been doing for about 6 to 7 years. When it first came out, that's when I actually started doing feed-in braids, and you know, I've been doing regular plaits and regular braids for over 13 years now, but feed-in braids became popular about 6 to 7 years ago, and at that time I was already braiding, so I incorporated this new technique into my routine, and clients started booking me for feed-in braids. And it's funny because when we first started with feed-in braids in the industry, they were just regular feed-in braids where we were not stitching. Stitching came along down the road. So stitching came along, and now they're known as the stitch feed-in braids. So that's what we're going to be going into today. So you see I have this one side in a scrunchie. I am going to go ahead and make a part down the middle of this side, and then another part going this way. Okay, so now we have the section that we're going to be doing our first feed-in braid. See that there? Alright, so we have our section here for our first feed-in braid, okay? This is where we're going to be practicing our feed-in braid. As you know, we are using our handy dandy Shine and Jam. We're going to go ahead and lather up each side of the section that we just took out for our braid. And you want to lather the hairs. You want to make sure that it's saturated in each side, okay? So each side has to be saturated with jam. You don't want to be stingy when adding jam for your feed-in braids, because this is what's going to help it get nice and neat, all right? So go ahead and add on both sides, and then you're going to add some to the top, and we're going to add some to the bottom, all right? All right, so now we're going to run that through, and we're going to make one last part down the middle, and we're going to add some jam down there on both sides. Okay, so we're gonna add jam to both sides. After we add a jam to both sides, we're going to comb. Right side is going to be combed left. All right, you want to comb that left. You can use the back of your comb to smooth it down. Left side is going to be combed right. Okay, next what we're going to do is just take some jam and get the hairs that's not in our section out of our way. All right, then we're going to make our first part in the section we just removed to be braided. This section is going to be about 1/4 inch. Okay. Now we're going to take this section, we're going to comb it through. See that? We're going to comb it through. And next we are going to make our 3 legs. So 1, 2, 3. Alright? We're going to incorporate the GBUS method, which is grab, borrow, up, steal. Now, to reiterate, for the first set of grab, borrow, up, steal, it's an 8 count. It's grab, borrow, up, steal. Alright? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4. That was simply grab, borrow, up, steal. Alright, so after we do grab, borrow, up, steal on both sides, we are going to start feeding in our hair. We grab our first leg. As you can see, I had my legs laid out already. These are small pieces of legs. Our feed-in braids, we do not want big legs. They're fairly small. We're going to add in our first piece. And to add, we are simply using our shark fingers to feed it into the index and thumb, just as so. Just open up, feed it in, close. This leg goes in between the hairs. This leg goes on the top hairs. Alright? And you continue. Grab, borrow, up, steal. We're going to do a stitch. We're going to feed in the stitch to our grabbers. Then we're going to add a piece of hair. Okay? So we added that piece of hair. And now we just continue. Grab, borrow, up, steal. We stitch. We add hair. Grab, borrow, up, steal. We stitch. We add hair. Grab, borrow, up, steal. Now I'm not going to add any more hair because I don't want it to be thick. Her hair is thick down here, so it's going to be enough density for us to continue the braid. So now we're just going to grab, borrow, up, steal, stitch. 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 1, 2, 3, 4, stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, stitch. Now when you get to that last hairs at the bottom of her neck, you want to pull down in this motion here to relieve any tension so that your client doesn't get any bumps. Okay, you don't want any pressure back here, so you just want to use her neck to relieve the pressure. Just pull down. Okay, and then you continue. Grab, borrow, up, steal. Grab, borrow, up, steal. Grab, borrow, up, steal. Now at this point, you can go ahead and switch your hand for the kick push method. All right, so we're going to switch our hand for the kick push method. Our free hand is going to be the first one to do kick push. So we hold this hair here, and we're going to be kicking push the middle strand, all right? So kick, push, kick, push, kick, push, kick, push. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Now I feel it getting thin, so I want to go ahead and add in my braiding hair. These are of course going to be thicker than the hairs that I use to feed in up here. All right, so we're going to be using a thicker leg, a leg that matches the size of her hairs, and we're going to use the same method we use with knotless plaits with our pinky. Starting off with step 1, pinky is step 1, step 2 is index finger, step 2 is index finger up top here. You're not over here, you're right above this index. You're going to hold the hair in place. So pinky, index, bring them all together. 1, 2. Kick, push. Then you kick, push, kick, push, kick, push, kick, push, kick, push. I want to go ahead and add some more braiding hair. I'm going to use my next legs that I combined. It's thicker than those I was adding here. Pinky, index, grab, kick, push. Okay, then you just continue, kick, push, kick, push, kick, push. I'll show it to you one more time. We're gonna go ahead and add our legs of hair. Pinky, grab, finger, index, hold. Okay, so 1, pinky is 1, 1, 2 is index. See that 2 index right here? Index is not over here, index is right here, right above the other index. So pinky, index, hold together, kick, push, kick, push, kick, push, kick, push, and you continue braiding down. Okay, so this is our feed and braid that we've completed. We have our completed feed and braid. Next, for tomorrow's lesson, we are going to do the whole head of feed and braids. We're going to do 6 braids together as we continue on with our lesson for feed and braids this week. All right, so that's it for now. We're gonna go ahead and talk about the cleaning process once we're done with our 6 braids tomorrow, and the dipping process, which is fairly the same as knotless plaits. We've been over it. You just go ahead and clean up and then dip. You apply your mousse, you apply your freeze spray, and you will see how nice your feed and braids are, okay? All right.